What is up, everyone? HiFi Turtle here. I'm here in North Carolina in Raleigh for Audio Advice Live. At least I was here for Audio Advice Live. The show is over. It's wrapping up. It's going to be done here in a few minutes. What was a very impressive display by Bowers & Wilkins is all but gone, and we're going to jump straight into my coverage of this show. It was a very different show, but a very fun, fantastic, and friendly show, and I'm very happy that Audio Advice Live had me come out here and cover it. So I'm excited to show you all that I saw and all that I heard at Audio Advice Live 2024. Welcome to HiFi Turtle, the #1 reptile adjacent hi-fi page on the internet, bringing the audiophile out of their shell. So I was just at Audio Advice Live a couple weeks ago, and I overheard that this is the largest home theater show in the United States. And it definitely felt that way. This was a very different show than a bunch of the other audio shows that I've been to in the past, where those are very heavy on the 2-channel, maybe 2.1 channel, 2.2 channel audio. No, the 2-channel audio was the exception at this show. The standard, what you saw the most of at this show, was definitely home theater, and probably some of the most extreme home theater setups that I have ever had the pleasure of listening to. I think probably a good sign of how extreme the home theaters were for some of these setups were that in a lot of the larger rooms like Focal and Bowers and Definitive Technologies, they actually let these companies mount ceiling speakers. They had Atmos channels in the ceiling of the hotel. I've never seen a hotel allow companies to mount ceiling speakers. Like typically if they're going to do height channels, they'll have like some sort of makeshift like wooden plank thing and just kind of set it up or whatever. But no, they actually let them put speakers in the ceiling. So it was definitely an extreme home theater, all an immersive experience. It was a really cool show. It was really fun. It was very friendly. I definitely noticed a lot of families, a lot of younger people attending this show. I think that's one from the home theater standpoint again, but also too, a lot of these people were locals. They're people that shop at Audio Advice, that know these guys, that know Audio Advice, have been customers for years, and it felt very much so almost like a customer appreciation event versus a hardcore hi-fi trade show. So it's really cool for Audio Advice to curate this community of people and bring them together at this event and put on this thing and bring them all together, and it's really cool to see. And obviously they've got a lot of people who really like them, who really love working with them, and they're able to put on this amazing home theater hi-fi show. So before I continue, I got to say a big thank you to Audio Advice, to Starscream Communications and Sterling Events for putting this on, for allowing me to come out, for sponsoring me to come out and cover this show for you. So big kudos to Audio Advice. If you're in the area, make sure you check them out. And they do have online sales. So if you don't have a local dealer that can help you, or you don't have a local dealer that represents a brand that you might be interested in, then definitely check out Audio Advice. So with that, I'm going to get into cool things that I saw at this show, things that impressed me, and ultimately what I thought was the best of Audio Advice Live 2024. So first and foremost, I think what has to be talked about is the Bowers & Wilkins Nautilus. And not just the static display that was in the hotel lobby by registration. They actually had the Nautilus live in the flesh being played. You had to go to the area where they were exhibiting this. You had to make an appointment. They were doing one appointment, I believe every 15-30 minutes, something like that. So you had to go make an appointment. Seating was very limited, and you had to wait your turn, go in, listen. You know, you could ask some questions, but then you got to get out because the next group is going to come in. And this was an amazing experience. This was the first time in over 20 years that the Nautilus has been shown at a US hi-fi trade show. I didn't realize it has not been that long since the speaker has been shown. I think it's 31 years old now, 31 years since the introduction of the Nautilus, the John Bowers signature, the ultimate Bowers & Wilkins speaker. It's now $100,000 for the pair, and it's just one of those things that's so legendary in the hi-fi space that I just am surprised and have always just wanted to hear one myself. But the opportunity's just never arisen because, one, the Bowers & Wilkins 800 series in its current iteration is the true sonic flagship of Bowers, and Bowers themselves will admit that the 800 series outperforms the Nautilus. But the Nautilus has a very special historical context. It has a very special artisanal context to the hi-fi world. So it's a speaker that, again, even though it's 31 years old, even though it's technically sonically outperformed by cheaper offerings by the same company, it is still a production model. It's still a legendary thing, and it's kind of this esoteric thing that exists in the hi-fi space. Bowers not only just brought the Nautilus, they went a step further and allowed anyone who took the time to listen to it to experience it in the grandest way possible. And they did this by building a separate room within the room of the ballroom that they were in at the hotel. So you went into the room, but then there was a chamber that you went into that had, again, that very limited seating, but this was very well acoustically treated. It was dimensioned out and gave the Nautilus the absolute best possible condition to sound as glorious as it is in a trade room setting. So that was awesome. They brought the flagship Class A models. They had them quad amplified over every driver having a separate channel from the amplifier driving the speaker, and just everything was done to perfection from Bowers. And I know I'm talking a lot about all the royalty and the precedence and all that, but it was a very good sounding presentation. Have I heard better? Absolutely. And Bowers, it will not shy from telling you the same thing. But it was a really cool moment, really awesome, something that I can check off my audiophile bucket list, that I've heard the Nautilus, I've seen them in real life, the whole nine, and I'm just really thankful to Bowers for bringing this. And I think it's awesome that they did this, and Audio Advice can, bring this to their show and have it be something that's so unique, hasn't been seen in over 20 years, and you see it at Audio Advice Live. A really cool presentation was from KEF. They had the KEF Blades, which is another esoteric, kind of cool, funky looking speaker that has just evaded me for some reason in my audiophile journey, even though the Blade is still the flagship for KEF, although I guess it's not if you count the Muon, which is a whole nother story. But it's the flagship, right? It's the new Blade One Meta. It's the KEF flagship. But for some reason, even though, this is the Meta and the Blade original existed for many, many years, whatever reason, that speaker has just evaded me and I've never heard one. So I was really excited again to see it at Audio Advice Live. They had that in this great Porsche blue, which people were calling Audio Advice blue, but the true technical color, I don't think well, maybe you can go to KEF and ask for Audio Advice blue, but it was this Porsche Mexican blue. I don't know if it came by another name, but that's what they told us it was. One of the features that they had for this was that they put a nickel on top of one of the blades to show how inert the cabinet was, even at very high SPLs. And it was a really good sounding speaker. I thought it was really cool to see, and it was just a really impressive speaker to listen to. And I'm just excited that I got to see it, and it's another thing I can check off that bucket list, and I saw it at Audio Advice Live. Despite this being a smaller show, there were still a couple world debuts for this show, and one of the biggest ones was Martin Logan showing off their new subwoofer series. We also had Coastal Audio, who does mostly outdoor speakers. They debuted a new subwoofer that has this top that you can change out the finish, so you can have multiple finishes to match your outside decor. And there was also a launch of Lenco turntables, which is a new entry-level turntable that can be integrated with speakers, or in some cases they even sell them with speakers. So it was a functional and accessible offering to those looking to get into vinyl. But again, the focus was primarily on a lot of home theater subwoofer launches, multi-channel launches, things of that nature. MoFi had a great setup with their SourcePoint 888, which I did an interview with Andrew Jones about that speaker when it debuted at Expona, and the video will be somewhere up here as in a related video. But they debuted, and this is something that's kind of a prototype and not really released yet, and they were just kind of showing off like what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, was the new Rose HiFi RD160. This is a dedicated DAC and preamp. It doesn't have any streaming capability, so you need to pair it with an external streamer like the Rode RS130, but it has just like all the DNA that makes Rode so incredible to visually look at, but also all the DNA that makes Rode so enticing to listen to. So many different features, so many different settings. I don't know if this was the final production. I think I want to withhold a little bit on the sound of it because I don't know if this was a prototype or an actual final engineered model that's going to be rolling off the production line in a few months, but sounded really great, looked awesome, has a ton of features again. One of the very unique things that they were really pushing on this particular DAC is that it accepts a fiber SFP module. So the RS130 will do fiber SFP modules, and you can do that to the RD160. Now, the guys at MoFi were saying that this is the preferred method, that this is something that is just kind of brand new that really no other DAC has. I know that SFP has been around a long time in the world of professional networking and how fiber optics and all that sort of stuff transcends the entire internet, but this is probably the first time that we're seeing it implemented in the hi-fi space, and according to the MoFi guys, it sounds a lot better than your typical USB connection or other traditional analog or digital connection from a streamer to a DAC. So really interesting technology coming from Rode and a very enticing, very beautiful, and very great sounding DAC that they had developed in the RD160 and made its debut in the US at least here at Audio Advice. Another thing at the show was the amount of TVs that I saw at this show. I don't think I've ever seen so many TVs at a hi-fi show, which again, home theater TVs, of course, but there were displays from LG, from Sony. There were the processor companies like MadVR and Kaleidoscape and all these other different processing companies showing off what their processing does, how it makes the image look better or crisper, the settings, all that sort of stuff. That's really outside of my world. I will say that I was there with Giles McCoy, you know, one of my fellow Hi-Fi Mafia guys, and Giles was the man there. I've never, like, at the shows, it's always interesting to see like people coming up to us and saying hi and things like that. And a few people did come up to me, but man, this was like Giles is like, he was the rock star. He was there. He was the VIP. He was back there signing autographs. Like, people were there for Giles. And it makes sense because Giles is very integrated into the home theater world and things of that nature. So it was really cool, but it was really awesome to see like all these people in North Carolina, and Giles lives down in Colorado, were rockstar Giles that wanted to come up to him, talk to him, everything like that, ask him all these questions. So again, a very different show. And instead of being outshined by Daniel-based therapy like I usually am, I was outshined by Giles. All right, so let's get to my best of show for Audio Advice Live 2024. That is going to go to the Focal Theater. Wow. I think this was the most expensive room at the show, so I will say it should have been the most impressive, but there's certainly a lot of rooms that rivaled it in cost, and Focal home run, hit it out of the park. Crazy theater setup, probably the craziest theater setup that I've ever seen in my entire life. Focal, Maestro Utopias as the primary left-right channels, the Viva center channel, and then 3 pairs of Sopra 2s. So you had Sopras for the wides, the sides, and the rears. And then they had Atmos channels in the ceiling from the 1000 series as well. Just crazy, amazing, all powered by NAME, the NAP 250 and the NAP 350 amplifiers, and then a Trinov processor with the JVC projector. We did a demo in there, and it was, the first demo was a scene from Greatest Showman, and it was just so powerful, so dynamic. Like, there's very few demos that I saw that really kind of like brought me into the moment of those movies. Like, they were very good, but it's hard to convey that emotion, especially in a very short clip of a movie. And I think Focal really just hit it out of the park. Like, it was so immersive, not only from the visual side, but also from the audio side, and certainly focusing more so on the audio side. And again, I'm going to say that I am, you know, mostly an audio guy, not so much a visual guy. So this was the most impressive to me audio-wise. Like there was just so much depth and so much clarity coming from that. Along they had the sub-12s, 4 sub-12s in the room, and I felt like a lot of demos, honestly, sometimes would get a little boomy, or they were there to really impress you with that big boom slam punch. But Focal really tuned it down here and just made it really integrate seamlessly into the overall character. It didn't come out as boomy or overbearing or anything like that. It was just pure music and just beautiful to listen to. If you didn't go to that demo, I kind of feel bad for you. Then the second demo that they did while I was there was from Top Gun Maverick, and that didn't have like the music. Of course, there's the orchestral piece in the background that kind of sets the mood, sets a tone for that movie, but it's more so about those big boom bangs, you know, machine gun fire, stuff like that. And that was still really impressive. I enjoyed that a lot. And again, it was one of those things where I saw a ton of Dune, I saw a ton of Top Gun demos going on in these theater rooms, and every time you could tell they were definitely trying to impress you with that. When an explosion happens, when something hits the wall, when something's happening, just boom, and it just envelops the room and comes over you, and you can feel it in the seat, which I could still feel it in the seat at the Focal room, so I was kind of surprised. But it just was seamlessly integrated, really nice sound, and just made me want to watch more of those movies while I was there. And talking to other people at the show, I definitely think a lot of them came away with Focal was very impressive, if not the most impressive of the show. And for me, it was definitely the most impressive of the show. So there you have it. There's my coverage of Audio Advice Live 2024. It was a really great show. Big thank you to Audio Advice. Big thank you to Starscream Communications. Big thank you to Sterling Events. Great show, great location, great people, great food. I had some amazing sushi in North Carolina, which I did not expect to have in North Carolina, and some amazing tacos. And I went to Bojangles for the first time, which I was told to go to while I was in North Carolina. So shout out Bojangles. And the sweet tea. I could only have one sweet tea though, because I will say that that southern sweet tea, whew, that is like pure sugar, my friends. So with that, big thank you again to Audio Advice Live. I hope to be at the show again next year. If you're in the area, make sure you check them out. If you're really into home theater, make sure you check them out. Again, Audio Advice sells nationwide, so if you don't have a local dealer or you don't have a brand that you're interested in represented at your local dealer, you can reach out to Audio Advice, get some help from them. And yeah, it was just an awesome show, and I'm looking forward to my next show. Probably going to be Florida, probably done for this year. We'll see, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, check the links below in the description for other ways to help support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.